Good afternoon. This is Casey, of course, with Clemson Marina. We wanted to walk you through the boat just so you're familiar and comfortable with the purchase once it gets there. We'll do a number of things. We'll start talking about the technical points back at the motor and work our way forward through some of the fun stuff and features. So there's 3 latches on the 175. There's one on the front, one on the back here, and then he's got a twin brother on the other side that you won't be able to see me grab. Once you've popped those 3 loose, you can then pull straight up on the cowling. And I'll set this over to the side. And just like that, we have the cowling off. Once we have the cowling off, you'll see front and center is the engine oil fill. Also, the engine oil data plate is to the right of that. And then on the port side of the motor, we also have the oil filter here. Right next to the oil filter, you'll see the fuse box. That's labeled very well, and there's also some spares in there as well as a puller should you need to get into the fuse box. On the starboard side of the motor, you'll see yellow is the dipstick, and that is just the same color as the yellow engine oil fill. They color code that. We have a fuel filter right up front and center as well, and it's clear so we can inspect that visually for any dirt, debris, or damage. Moving forward, we have the hydraulic steering system. This is the hose that feeds the hydraulic steering assembly. You want to make sure that there are no kinks, leaks, or abrasions to those hoses. We also have the fuel fill here as well. Works just like a regular car or truck gas can in that it clicks whenever it's tight. And then a primer bulb. In the event you were to ever run the boat out of fuel, you need that primer bulb to get fuel back into the engine. So with all the technical points underneath the cowling covered, we do have a couple things here inside the boat that we want to make note of. First of which, we have the onboard battery here. This is a marine cranking battery. Now the big thing about this compartment is we also install a battery switch. This should be your go-to at the end of each day. You cut that battery switch off. It means none of your electronics are draining anything from the battery. At the beginning of your day, you cut it on. In this compartment here on the port side, one last technical point, we have a fuel water separator, really just to help you keep the water out of your fuel. Over time, there may be some accumulate in the tank. That filter there keeps the fuel, or keeps the water rather, from getting into the motor. So with the technical points on the motor covered, let's talk about some of the features of your boat. Underneath each of the seating compartments is all storage. Chase backs hinge forward for storage. Got poles for the cover, life jackets, additional storage here. We also have storage under the console here. Under there as well, your portable cup holder armrest. We also have all of the manuals for the boat and motor inside this bag here. Other aspects, we have the changing room, of course. Pops out, curtain comes up, and then to stow that, we just very simply push until it clicks, tuck, and fold. Let's stow this table. Table pops on right to the top. Little socket on the bottom. And then this post is actually reverse threaded. So lefty, tighty, righty, loosey. So with that taken off, we can then stow that as well. It fits real well back here. Go ahead and pause. All right, guys, now let's talk about putting the top down. Because these are new tops, there is some tension on them. We do want to pull down on the top, and then we have a little latch here that I would like to illustrate. This square is actually not a button that we depress, but it slides. And with the top, or the tension taken off the top, we can then very easily slide that out of the way, hinge our leg backwards. I've already done this side just for illustration. And then I usually will come back here, push up, and then help the top fold. We have a bimini boot that will then zip on there and keep everything nice and tight. Sitting at the console here, I wanted to highlight some of the functionality, switches, and buttons we have here. Starting from left to right, we have the main power button. You click this power button on anytime you want use of any of the switches or features. Now, without the power button on, you will still have the use of your gauges, fuel, trim, and the hour meter there, and the tachometer will keep running. Underneath each of the switches, there is a circuit breaker that is designated for each switch. If you were to ever click one of these switches and that red light not come on and or your navigation lights come on, reach down, press that circuit breaker just to make sure that it hasn't tripped. Now, while I'm looking at the navigation and anchor switch, this is the only one that is actually a 2-position rocker switch. You'll see we have to get that right in the middle for it to totally shut off. If we click it to the front, you of course get your navigation and anchor lights, which are going to be your red and your greens, and your white 360-degree light on the bimini top. We click it to the rear, beyond the middle position, and now you have just your anchor light. Again, we click that in the middle to make sure it's off. To the right of that is the auxiliary USB jack there, feeds right into the stereo. And then on the right hand panel, we have a 12-volt outlet, still good for inflating tubes. Docking lights, those are your two more or less headlights on the front of the boat. They shine about boat height or dock height. Circuit breakers for each one of these. Courtesy light is going to be the little white light on the side of the console there. And then your horn is the audible signaling device that the Coast Guard requires. So let's take a closer look at these gauges here. Of course, fuel, pretty self-explanatory. You do want to monitor that. You have a 40-gallon fuel tank. Half a tank there means you have 20 gallons. Speedo here, tachometer here is going to be the important one to watch out for, and then of course the trim. Now you'll see on that trim gauge, once I use the trim button here at the control box, up affects that trim gauge the same way that you would imagine it would, and then down as well. As you're learning the boat, I recommend start trimmed down, accelerate, and then trim up. The front of your boat will then rise out of the water. You'll be up on what we call plane, and at that point you can really dial in the trim based on the ride quality you want. As a personal note, I've never seen these verandas with the 175s need more trim than that right there, which is about 2/3 trim. That's going to give you what we feel is the most performance and the most efficiency going down the lake. Looking at the control box, it's actually pretty simple. There's no switches or shift mechanisms to manipulate. It's literally a smooth push forward will shift it forward, to the middle is neutral, and then to the rear is reverse. So this is the fun part. Everybody likes to learn about their Simrad units. This unit's a 5-inch unit, and it functions as a GPS, fish finder, and depth finder. When you first power the unit on, there'll be a white page that basically releases them of any liability should there be any sort of navigational accidents. And then you'll get to this home screen here. At the home screen, you have your option of chart, which is a more or less top-down map. You also have echo and structure, which function as fish finder depth finders. And you'll notice I'm pressing this top left button here to get back to the home screen. And then you'll have the navigation button. These are the four most commonly used features of the Simrad unit. And that will show you more of an in-dash navigation like we may be used to with our vehicles. Now tap that top left button for home. So with this unit, most commonly customers are asking me how to set waypoints. Using the chart, you'll then get the top-down view. You can zoom in or zoom out to your heart's desire. Let's just say we wanted to set a waypoint for the restaurant right across the lake. We tap on the map and it provides a cursor. So anywhere those two lines intersect, it's creating a cursor. Then using the top right button, that's our menu button. And from there we have a couple options. We can either hit new. If we go new, it'll give us the option to name that. We can then name it a waypoint. Type in the name for your waypoint in this bar here. If this is your home dock, type in home, etc. I'm not going to load you up with a bunch of waypoints, so I'll cancel that. Or with that cursor, we can also navigate to that point using that same menu button in the top, hit the go to button, and we then hit go to cursor. At that point, it draws a line between us and that point. You then tap the home button, go back to nav, and now you're navigating to that cursor. Should you choose any other navigation point, whether that be home, restaurant, etc., it'll say that across the top, and it'll give you, assuming you're moving, an estimated time when you'll get there. Using that home button, we can then look at however many waypoints we add using the waypoints tab. If you had 12 waypoints in here, it would list those out. Now, across the top, you have waypoints, routes, and tracks. Waypoints, like I said, is going to be anything that you save to the unit as a point of interest. Tracks will be more or less a breadcrumbs that once you get moving, if it starts recording you, it'll then save those tracks into this log using the date. If you decide to save those tracks or save a navigation route, that will then be under the routes tab. And at that point, it will tell you on the navigation screen how to navigate safely using bearings and courses over ground. That's really the quick and dirty when it comes to the Simrad unit. Now you will get a manual provided with this unit that'll teach you, and go in a little bit more in depth. Otherwise, it's actually pretty simple to kind of work your way through here. Of course, you can set alarms to allow the unit to tell you, if you were to, get shallow, deep water alarm, water temperature was to drop, etc. You can have the unit alert you of that. You can also create some custom views here. There's a couple presets. This one shows a chart and the fish finder. If we wanted to create a new one, we can say we want a chart. We drag that over, and the structure, we drag that over. So it creates both of those views there. Of course, if you ever have any questions regarding the usability of this, you're more than welcome to give me a call here and I'll step you through it over the phone. So I wanted to highlight how we cover the boat. Now that we're done going through all of the features and how to use it, now we want to cover up our investment. The way we encourage people to roll their covers, when we take it off, lay it in the floor, fold it in on itself, and then roll it actually from back to front. And in doing that, you leave this tag that says forward center. And that way, when we pull this cover out of its case or storage compartment, we always know where that forward center is. So now we're taking a close look at the clip that we use to put this boat cover on. There are no stainless steel buttons on our boat covers or on the boat. That clip right there, we actually have an arrow, and there's a channel that runs the top railing of each veranda boat. That arrow, if you will, pointed at me, will be pushed up into that channel, and it'll leave you looking just like that. So on the outside of the boat, you'll see this guy right here. Now it's important to know, we take that forward center tab right over the edge of the boat, push straight up on it. Now whenever we're doing the next clip, we need to be sure to pull the tension out. If we take this clip and put it right here, we have too much slack there. We'll never have enough when we get to the back of the boat. So we pull that tension and then take that clip and put it in there. And you follow that all the way around. Now the important thing to remember as we remove the cover, rather than pushing down on the clip, take your thumb and we twist it. If you twist the clip, you're almost guaranteed that you'll never break the clip free from the cover. If you have any questions about this, you can always give me a call here. Morning, noon, or night. I'll be glad to help you get that cover until you learn the basics or the mechanics of it. Once we get the cover rolled out, of course, we have tent poles that will keep the water shedding off of it. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you about your purchase. If you have any questions in the future, don't hesitate to give us a call. This is a process that we do for every customer, no matter what they're buying, whether it be an old boat, new boat, used, consignment boat, or if we're just actually helping somebody else learn another boat that they bought from another manufacturer or dealer. We want our customers to feel 100% comfortable with their purchase. I hope that I've made some of this information easy for you to process. If not, give us a call and we'll go from there. Thanks.